become healthy and food literate. So our catchphrase is sort of turning hunger into health. And that really is the core of our mission, that we are trying to distribute healthy food that people can prepare in ways that are culturally appropriate. And then providing them the tools to choose good foods, prepare them, and enjoy them. So we have a suite of education programs for children that really focus on getting them excited about fruits and vegetables, learning how to prepare them, and giving them those kitchen skills, cooking skills, shopping skills that are going to make them more food literate and food secure adults. And Santa Barbara County is it's a very interesting community, because you've probably heard that there's a lot of rich people, retired people, a lot of celebrities in Santa Barbara and Montecito. However, in the northern part of the county, we have a lot of hunger, and it comes mostly, unfortunately, from the agriculture industry. So it's very ironic that the people who are actually, growing, picking our food are the ones that are going hungry. The other part of Santa Barbara County is that we're a tourism-focused area. It's a vacation spot. We have the beach. And because of natural disasters and, of course, the slowing of the economy and the pandemic, we've been hit really hard. So a lot of people in the restaurant and hospitality industries are experiencing hunger for maybe the first time. So part of our model is disaster preparedness and relief. So after the Thomas Fire in 2017, we brought together all the county agencies to come up with a feeding plan in case there was some kind of emergency, which really helped to prepare us for what we see right now. And like I said, Santa Barbara does not seem like it would have a lot of hunger, but about 1 in 4 people in the county access our services each year. We have the 3rd highest poverty rate and the 2nd highest child poverty rate. And about almost half of our clients are children. So we also serve a decent sized portion of seniors. And during the pandemic, we've been doing all delivery. So we're delivering groceries to their door. And instead of delivering cooked meals, which we have done, we're mostly delivering food ingredients. We believe there's a twofold benefit to that. One, people can cook things that are culturally appropriate for them and their family. And the other part is the dignity of the clients we serve, that we want people to still feel like they're providing a meal for their family. So we're really addressing both the physical effects of hunger and the psychological. So I mentioned those children's education programs. So these are the current programs that we had. They serve over 13,000 children every year. Of course, we have the pandemic with schools being closed. So we have started forming relationships with school systems so we can do online curriculum. We have kids farmers market take home kits where they get a box of ingredients and a recipe. And everything that we produce is both English and Spanish because we do have a large Latino and Hispanic population in our county. And this is who we are. We are 100% in Santa Barbara County, working for Santa Barbara County. And we're really trying to give people a long-term improved health circumstance to make the best of what they have. That includes a CalFresh and SNAP outreach, which is like food stamps. About a quarter of the people in the county who are eligible aren't registered for those. So we do an outreach program to make sure that people can provide themselves those tools to get back on their feet and keep their health. I think if we've learned one thing right now, health is the most important thing. So that's a little intro about us, and I'm happy to take any questions you have in the chat as well.
Thank you, Lauren. So next, Thelma, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here today. I'm Thelma Valenzuela, and I'm the manager of individual giving at Habitat for Humanity of Greater Los Angeles. And I'm really happy to be here today on this panel for the CFC. Our mission at Habitat LA is to bring people together to build homes, communities, and hope. We have a vision of a world where everyone has a decent place to live. Having the support of federal employees like you through the CFC allows us to continue our life-changing work. And it's through your generosity that we can provide affordable housing opportunities for low-income and hardworking families. Through Habitat LA's home ownership program, we provide support to local families and partner with them to set them up for success as new homeowners. With the support of community partners, donors, and volunteers like yourselves, we can construct new or renovate existing homes alongside Habitat LA partner home buyers. There's a common misconception that Habitat partner families are receiving free homes. And I wish we were the Oprah of home giveaways and I could say, you get a home and you get a home, but that's not how it works. We like to say we provide a hand up, but not a handout. We actually partner with our families, and our families are purchasing the homes, but at an affordable rate. So they're never paying more than 30% of their monthly income on a place to live. Our partner families also make a small down payment and are responsible for monthly mortgage payments. And as a part of the program to become a Habitat homeowner, our families also invest up to 500 hours of what we call sweat equity. That means they're on site building their own homes and the homes of their neighbors as well. But new construction is just one of the many programs that you can help support through the CFC. We also have several programs that help build our community. Through our home repair program, we provide critical home repairs to low-income homeowners, many of whom are seniors, veterans, and individuals with disabilities. This often includes installing wheelchair ramps, widening doors to ensure that residents are living in healthier and more accessible homes. Your kindness also furthers our reach through our neighborhood revitalization program, where we work to improve the quality of life for residents in low-income target areas. This year, your support will make a big impact on the lives of families who were affected by COVID-19 through sickness, loss of income, or quarantine, by providing them with things like mortgage relief and financial assistance so that they can provide for their families for essential items like food, utilities, and critical health costs. Lastly, your support will help families and communities affected by wildfires recover and regain the capacity to rebuild their lives. As you can see, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we couldn't do it without your support. So thank you for being here and participating in the CFC, and thank you for considering your support of Habitat for Humanity of Greater Los Angeles.
Thank you, Thelma. I'm going to put this over to Carlia, and I just wanted everybody to know that this session is being recorded today.
Hi. Can you hear me? Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Carlia Oldfather. Thank you so much for the opportunity of being here and sharing about our national organization. So StandUp for Kids, we're a national nonprofit that serves unaccompanied homeless and at-risk youth and young parents with children of their own up to their 25th birthday. Our mission is simple: to end the cycle of youth homelessness. We do this in cities across America, one youth at a time. We strive to build communities where all youth know care, feel loved, and have a support system to help them move quickly from surviving to thriving. Now, as I said it before, StandUp for Kids is a national nonprofit dedicated to ending the cycle. We have 18 chapters throughout the nation, and I personally serve as a director of operations for the Orange County chapter here in Southern California. Since 1990, we have cared for homeless and at-risk youth by transitioning them from crisis to connection. We give our youth a sense of safety, hope, and belonging through housing support, mentoring, drop-in centers, and street outreach. We bear the highest independent ratings for fiscal stewardship of all our donations. Now, what's our impact? We work to end the cycle of youth homelessness by identifying and engaging homeless and at-risk youth. We then connect youth to an array of our programs and outside community supports to address their whole person needs, providing wraparound services. Blueprints for success guide youth towards sustainable and healthy outcomes. At every stage, we build healthy and trusting relationships, promote safety, and advocate with and for our youth. We have been a trusted entity since 1990, and we're entering our fourth decade of serving youth around the country. We're not all size fits all. Although I did say we had 18 chapters, we respond to the needs of their communities and build services with a combination of support from national and local experts. We work with youth through the age of 25, and we recognize that there are a few developmentally appropriate services to serve young people after 18. So we don't turn our backs when the youth age out of most of other programs. Every local program was started by a core group of volunteers, and most of them are ran by them. We celebrate differences, embracing all youth, regardless of race, ethnicity, ancestry, skin color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender and expression, relationship status, personal appearance, family roles, political affiliation, or disability. Youth tell us what is most important to them and what they would like from us. They set the goals and we meet them where they are. We equip them with the tools that they need, not only to get out of the crisis that they're in, but also so that they can become self-sufficient and stay that way. Now we do that based on our 4 core programs. We have street outreach cantors, mentoring, and housing. With our street outreach, we focus on, oh, I'm sorry, Stand Up for Kids. I see you, RKP. Stand Up for Kids is our organization. So like I said before, we have 4 pillars that drive our mission. Street outreach, so that we can find our youth on the streets. Volunteers in nearly every city operate and walk the streets in known hotspots to find the youth and offer the services that we provide. Outreach Center is providing a place for our youth, a respite for them to come out of the streets, and so that we can work with them one-on-one through weekly mentoring to equip them to become self-sufficient permanently. Like I said before, mentoring is one of our most important components. Why? Because without mentoring and without equipping them with the tools and the knowledge that they need to quote unquote adult, they will not be able to be permanently self-sufficient, which is what the goal is ultimately.
That's wonderful.
And finally, housing. Huh?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Wonderful. Continue. Yes, finally, go ahead.
Oh, and finally, housing. To us, we are a housing first model. We follow the housing first model. So our focus is to help youth get off the streets. And so we use, we do that through, we have a process of a 9-month where we work with our youth weekly to find areas where we can support them and house them. We are very excited to share that Orange County is the first chapter to have rapid rehousing funded by HUD. So we have that opportunity, and we are the first housing provider for the coordinated entry system in Orange County.
That's
and
amazing.
That is my presentation regarding Stand Up for Kids. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Next is going to be Megan, and then it will be Jim.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Megan. I'm from Assist International. We are locally based in Ripon, California, but we're an international organization. And I guess first I just wanted to say I'm really excited to see everybody kind of showing up and seeing what they can do for people in need during such a difficult time for everybody. So that's really encouraging to me. I wanted to actually share slides here. So let me see if it's going to work. Okay. Let me know if everyone can see this. It should just be a child assist PowerPoint. Does everyone see that? Okay. Yeah, so Assist International has 4 different key programs, which is Health Assist, Community Assist, Wash Assist, and Child Assist. And that's what I want to focus on today based on the topic. So yeah, Child Assist is really unique in that it focuses on how we can bring orphaned children into family. And so the primary focus here is figuring out how orphan kids can be brought into a home that not only provides them with the essential skills and education and tools and food that they need, but also gives them that surrounding love and support of a family. So we have 5 ongoing orphan village partnerships that are throughout the world. We have one in Thailand, Romania, 2 in Uganda, and we have built over 69 different schools and orphan villages throughout the world. So really, in all, we estimate that there are around 5,000 children who are impacted every day by these programs. But since we only have a few minutes, I wanted to actually share just one story with you. I was actually honored to be here and take this photo. So this is a story really close to my heart. These are 2 girls named Rose and Mercy, and they were 2 orphan sisters in Uganda who was brought to the attention of the social worker that we have in northern Uganda because of how extreme their living situation was. Really, they were in such bad shape that they were 3 and 4 years old at the time, and neither of them could walk. And so the social worker says here it was really one of the most horrible situations she's ever seen. And upon coming to meet them, she realized that really there was nothing that could be done. There was no one supporting them in the community. So we brought them in to the orphan village, which is called Sowing Hope and located in Adiac, and really began helping provide for the food, nutrition, education that they needed. And after just 1 month, both girls were able to walk. And today they're both running. When I was there, they were running around playing and just really thriving. And it's really evident how important having that safe place is for not only your health, but also for your emotional health. And yeah, both girls are just doing so well. But during COVID, these needs are on the rise. It's expected by the World Food Program that hunger is supposed to double by the end of the year, just based on all the complications that have arisen from COVID-19. So during this time, we've really accelerated our efforts, specifically in food and hunger with we've started some food initiatives helping our local orphan family partners grow food, and also just meeting emergency needs by sending emergency kits and supplies and that sort of thing. But for some people, this is really a matter of life and death right now. And so yeah, we're really honored to play a part. Yeah, and one really cool story that happened this I think it was in March was one of our partners was sharing how all the transportation had closed down, and a lot of people weren't able to receive the HIV medication and food that they needed. So we were able to support our partner and provide a 2-month supply for families. And that was, yeah, just a really special and unique thing that was able to happen during this crisis. So yeah, we have been an organization for 30 years, and we really have a heart to empower our local partners to reach those in greatest need.
Wonderful. Thank you, Megan. Really do appreciate you sharing that message, and especially that story about Rose and Mercy. Jim, it's you're next for our introduction.
Thanks very much. Jim Floros, I'm the president and CEO of the Jacobs and Cushman San Diego Foodbank and our North County Foodbank chapter. We are a completely local organization serving San Diego County, and have been doing so since 1977, so more than 40 years. We're generally considered by state officials as being one of the top food banks in California, and being an independent food bank, considered one of the top independent food banks in the United States. So kind of talking about San Diego County, prior to COVID, we estimate about 1 in 7 people in San Diego County. That was about 450,000 people were termed food insecure. People generally associate food banks with feeding the homeless. And while we do serve the homeless, it's less than 5% of our service population. And so pre-COVID, the way our service population broke down, it's working poor. Big part of our service population is working poor. And these are people really that we can focus on our core value of breaking the cycle of poverty and helping people become independent. Seniors on a fixed income, children living in poverty. And probably one of the segments that most surprised me when I came to the food bank about 8 years ago is active duty military. So pre-COVID, we were feeding about 350,000 people a month. And we do that through 200 distributions that we conduct, that we control, plus a network of 500 nonprofit agencies. So pretty much any nonprofit in San Diego County, if they have a feeding program, more likely than not, they're getting the majority of their food from us. But out of that 350,000 people we were serving every month, we were feeding about 40,000 active duty military, their dependents and veterans every month, which I just found to be shocking. Obviously, San Diego County has one of the highest military populations in the world, if not the largest, over 100,000 junior enlisted. And so, these young heroes are literally living so far below the poverty line. It's tough to really see. Then COVID hit. We have an internal motto here at the food bank: you can't make this, you know what up. We went from feeding 350,000 to 600,000 people almost overnight. Just crazy. But because our organization, being local, very adaptive, it's kind of in our DNA to be able to pivot. We did. Within 72 hours, we already had phase 1 of our COVID response. Now we're in COVID, our third phase of our COVID response, which is our super pantry program, where we took 35 of our 500 nonprofit partners and we kind of supersized them, turned them into super pantries, high volume, high frequency distribution sites in key areas throughout the county. The other 465 agencies still up and running and feeding people. And of course, 200 distribution sites. People who've never had to ask for help before are now coming to our food lines. In the fiscal year 18-19, we distributed 32 million pounds of food. The fiscal year that just ended, the 19-20, we were tracking to do about 36 million pounds of food, but with just 3 months of COVID, we did 43 million pounds of food. And now the fiscal year that just started July 1, we're projecting that we're going to do between 60 and 70 million pounds of food in this fiscal year. It's beyond belief. And then, we're working really hard, raising a lot of money, spending a lot of money. In a typical year, we usually spend about $1 million in food purchases in the wholesale market. Just in October, we hit $8 million in food purchases just since the middle of March. Obviously, the Combined Federal Campaign, I'm a career nonprofit guy, so I know firsthand the tremendous work and support that the Combined Federal Campaign has done. Such a huge orchestrated effort and doing such great good in so many communities and helping so many worthwhile nonprofits do the work they are. So I have a close affinity for the CFC, and obviously San Diego County, which has such a high military and federal government population here. We know firsthand what you're doing, and your support for the San Diego Food Bank has been instrumental to our success. We're proud to tell you we can take $1 and leverage that into 5 meals. And so, people who are donating through the Combined Federal Campaign can know that if you're supporting the San Diego Food Bank, your money is going to go very far in helping everybody in need. So that's the drink through the fire hose for 30,000 foot level on the San Diego Food Bank.
Thank you very much, Jim. Do really appreciate it. So we're just looking, we're going to go right into question 1. We're going to start with Thelma. So the question is, what are the biggest factors that contribute to the housing or homelessness and food insecurity challenges in your area and the country we face? And keeping these kind of to 2 minutes so everybody has an answer.
Sure. Yeah, the need for affordable housing in our communities is pretty overwhelming. Cost burden and overcrowding are the most serious problems experienced by low and very low income families in Southern California. In fact, I believe Los Angeles ranks as one of the least affordable housing areas in the US. Before the pandemic, there was a statistic that 1 out of 6 families were paying half or more than half on a place to live. And now with millions of people filing for unemployment, the situation is much worse and it's getting worse. There's so many hardworking families that just simply can't afford to purchase homes. Families often have to make difficult decisions, choosing between paying for housing or nutritious food for their families, housing or reliable transportation, housing or even life-saving medicine. The cost of homes should not be at the cost of health or at the cost of children's education. When the cost of home is a family's future, we believe the cost is too high. Shelter is a basic human need, and Habitat for Humanity strives to achieve our goal of eliminating substandard housing by making decent, sustainable, and affordable housing a reality for everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. So Carlia, do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, actually, because we focus on youth homelessness, not necessarily all age groups, in our case, we see that family instability, including child abuse and or neglect, domestic violence, parental substance abuse, and conflict over sexual orientation or gender identity are one of the 4 main reasons that we find that our youth end up on the streets. Another one will be the system involvement, right? With a high percentage of youth becoming homeless after aging out of foster care or being released from the juvenile justice system. Residential instability, for example, and that's something that Thelma touched on, usually with one's family, usually due to economic issues, they need to double, triple up, or they end up living in motels, right? And so that's when we find our motel families. Youth may become homeless with their families, like I said it before, but they might be separated from their families because of shelter, transitional housing, child welfare policies, or simply because they turn 18 and the parents just literally tell them, I can't support you anymore. You're an adult. Go. I have 2 other children that I need to feed, right? Extreme disconnection from education, employment, and support networks. Many homeless youth have experienced significant trauma that needs to be addressed as they develop the independence and self-sufficiency to be able to move to permanent housing and permanent self-sufficiency. And that's something critical. The mental health component is huge. A lot of our youth want the help. We just need to address those mental health challenges and help them get through that so that they can really focus,
Yeah.
right? In building a resume, right? We're talking to a youth about resume building when they don't have anything to eat, when they don't know where they're going to sleep, when they use drugs so that they can stay up overnight, especially our females, so that they can sleep during the day, so they don't get abused or trafficked.
Right.
So
Yeah.
those are the main focuses when it comes to youth homelessness that we see.
Those are definitely large, big factors. And I'm going to throw this over to Megan. You deal a lot with more international. So is those similarities that you've noticed as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think she was really getting to the heart of, you have to deal with the hunger first and the home first, because a child needs, especially for young children, they need that support system. They need that safe place to then think about education and to then, really thrive and grow and be able to really experience life in a positive way. But until they're able to do that, and if they don't have the support of the community, it becomes really challenging for kids to really function and to receive the resources that they need. I think one of the things that's difficult for the communities we serve is that a lot of them were already facing food insecurity before COVID hit. And so now with COVID, things we don't even think about in the US, like seed being able to cross the border for people, for like subsistence farmers to plant. If they don't have seed, they're not able to plant, which is the main way that they were, producing food for their family, oftentimes for the children that they're caring for that aren't their family members, but who they've taken in. And so, when it comes to the place where they can no longer care for community members who maybe don't have family support, that's where our Orphan Village partners step in and say, we're here to support and we're here to provide a safe place to then to really thrive.
Great. Well, thank you. Yeah. And so, Jim, any thoughts from your perspective on these largest factors?
Well, it's complicated. Everything we know starts with food and shelter. One of my criticisms of the hunger community when I came was that everybody's goal was to end hunger. And the way of doing that is being more effective in feeding people. And that is not ending hunger. That's just building a better mousetrap, building a better Band-Aid. So really, you need to look at why people are hungry. It's the root causes of poverty. Right. And so we know everything starts with food, right? So we know that nutrition-related disease is linked to poverty. And when people have less resources, they have poor health outcomes directly related to a poor diet, which is directly related to poverty. So rampant obesity, diabetes, heart disease, hypertension. We've actually seen studies that one of the leading determinants of mental health issues later on in life is food insecurity as a child. Yeah. And then the other side of that, what about academic performance? Kids that don't eat before school, they don't eat over the weekends, or when their families think they're doing the right thing, they're feeding them the wrong type of food. So their chances of them for a good academic outcome become compromised, which means the chances of getting a good job become compromised, chances of them being able to support their family become compromised, chances of them needing the food bank or the government or higher. There is your cycle of poverty. And we believe that education is the major vehicle to break the cycle of poverty. Childhood education starts with childhood nutrition. So, we talk about homelessness. I think in San Diego County, they estimate about 13,000 people that are homeless. But for every one person you see on the street, there's 2 or 3 that are homeless, but they're not on the street yet, right? They're living in a car, multifamily homes or what have you. So they're heading this way. And then behind them are another 400,000 people that are food insecure. And people tend to spend a lot of time on this, and it certainly needs to be dealt with, and people need those services, but people aren't spending enough time on the root causes of poverty and preventing people from heading this way. Right. So for us as an agency, we're more of a nutrition bank than a food bank, and really it's about root causes of poverty and also social injustice, racism, and how they all factor also into root causes of poverty.
Thank you for sharing that message. I'm going to move that over to Lauren. And do you have any kind of final thoughts on this question?
Yeah, I think I love what Jim just said about, the cycle that exists and that we're trying to reach the root of the problem, that it's not just a single dimension of sending out food, but really trying to prepare people to meet the systemic issue that we all have. 1 in 7 people in the country experience food security every year. And it's even higher now during COVID.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing, especially with the pandemic, even the people who are getting back to work as the economy is starting to try and get moving, they have back rent, they have credit card bills, they have this whole backlog of expenses. And culturally, I think, or I guess as a society, you know, it's when food or when our family budget falls short, food is a really easy thing for us to cut because
Right.
unfortunately it can be $5 at McDonald's to get the salad and $1 to get the burger. And so we see people replacing nutritionally dense but calorically smaller foods like healthy fruits and vegetables, and they're replacing it with fast food, frozen dinners. And then you create that system of, God, I don't feel well, I can't really focus at school, or I can't really, you know, focus at work. And it just kind of compiles on itself. So right now in the situation we're in, we're trying to definitely plug those meal gaps while they're coming up, but also provide people those tools to make the most of what they have. And it is a challenge at this time, especially like Jim said, doing education for children. A lot of them have to do distance learning, but the ones who are struggling the most with food insecurity don't necessarily have internet access or have a nice computer or iPad they can use. So we're trying to adapt with that and make nutrition principle coloring books and workbooks and those take-home kits that I mentioned earlier, where they're getting a little farmer's market box and a recipe, and they can kind of go through it with the whole family. So
That's wonderful. That's really
yeah, we're
wonderful
trying
to
to
be
keep
able to, you know, all of you have touched on these big different factors that contribute. And I feel like each of you are about to lead into, you know, a bit about how your services have changed or how you had to really adapt this year, truly, right? And so for everybody here, I think it would be interesting, you know, maybe spend a minute on how some of your services, a lot of you have already kind of touched on them, but just how you've changed your services to adapt for COVID. And I'm going to ask Carlia to start that off.
Thank you, Jerica. COVID. So obviously, as a national organization, we've been impacted in very various ways. So I'm going to focus more on Orange County and our chapter so that I can really paint a very good picture on how that looked like. We freaked out when, you know, let me explain why. We have here in Orange County chapter, we have programming in high schools, mentoring programs in high schools throughout the county. We have we work out of center in Anaheim, and we have our preventive work. These are our youth, our motel family youth, or our double triple dop youth that are at risk of homelessness. And so all of a sudden, center is closed. We are in schools are closed. So, and we have our youth, your 18 to 24-year-olds losing their jobs that they have attained and we have placed in housing, and they were already paying their rent, and all of a sudden they're losing their jobs. So it was a very, it took us like a week to truly, really quickly strategize on how we were going to continue serving our youth now more than ever, that they needed us the most. So what we did, as I explained before, we had the 4 pillars, right? Street outreach. So when street outreach, we couldn't go on the street, we had to stay at home. So what we did is we totally flipped it to community outreach, and we paved the phone to contact our partners and be very connected and identify what service are you still providing, what's going on in the community from our own homes. Mentoring, we went completely virtual on our mentoring component. As I said before, we are very intentional when we mentor our youth in teaching them how to adult, and so that if they lose the job, they know what to do to get the next one, right? So that we had to shift everything virtual for that so that we can maintain that. Of course, because we did that, we had some youth different ages that they didn't have the technology to be able to connect with us virtually. So we already had a technology, bridging the technology gap for the youth that we had at the center with the little ones, because they had told us that they didn't have the tools that they needed to do work at home, homework at home. So we took those tools and we started equipping them and giving our youth MiFis and the Chromebooks so that we can connect with them as well.
That's really great, Carlia. I definitely, yeah, that's, I mean, just being able to provide those services to those individuals are so important. And Megan, how have you guys adjusted to the change?
Yeah, you know, wow, It's kind of felt like an eternity, hasn't it, COVID? But yeah, I mean, when it first hit, I think all of our programs, especially our child assist programs, were immediately impacted with the lockdowns happening worldwide. And so right away, we started brainstorming, like we were meeting emergency food needs, but how can we long-term better equip our partners to have food security? And so we started farming initiatives with our partners, working with them to train the local community just on how they can better plant their gardens and grow a more sustainable food supply. So in terms of that, that's been really incredible to see. We've just recently got some pictures back of the first harvest with the kids and their corn. So that it's been really awesome to see that. But aside from that, like I was mentioning, Assist has 4 different programs. And so through our Health Assist program, we've turned every virtual, doing things for frontline workers to our community assist program, still distributing items to families from like affected by fire. So we've really like upped almost all of our programs to just meet those emergency needs.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. And I'm gonna go over to Jim next for this question. And then for the chat questions that people are doing, we're gonna put those to the end. So we'll get that in the next question.
Well, okay, so a little over maybe a year or 2 years ago, as an agency, we distributed 32 million pounds of food in an entire year. I think this week we'll hit 36 million pounds of food distributed just since the beginning of COVID. 36 million pounds of food, if you try to get your arms around that, that is actually the equivalent of 13 semi-truckloads full of food. So just, it's crazy. But you know what, we rallied. Again, I talked about the fact that we had worked really hard on organizational excellence, and it's the stuff you're supposed to do as a nonprofit. Great relations with donors and the elected officials, the media, hallmark programs, great financials. We realized we had kind of built a ship to weather the storm, and that organizational excellence that we worked so hard to achieve is serving us really well. So, we're exempt from the executive order. We've been here from day one, 75% of my staff on site. I had 3 days off in the first 10 weeks. It's 16-hour days. It's been crazy, but this is what we signed up for. And one of the things that served us so well is we built an organizational culture. We hired a culture. People who work here, even people who are vulnerable populations for COVID, when I would ask them, "Are you okay being here?" And they said, "I work here to feed people. Let's go feed people." So that culture and that organizational excellence has helped us adapt, and we think this is going to be going on for at least a couple of years, because even if COVID goes away, the economic downturn and the increased need is going to be here for at least a couple more years.
Right, and exactly what you're going off of, and I want to bring Lauren into this conversation next on that.
Yeah, we've been about double distribution since March as well, and it was just a matter of very quickly having to logistically figure that out. Luckily, we had written that disaster feeding plan in 2017, because we are not immune to disasters in Santa Barbara County. So yeah, we doubled our warehouse space to not only store food, but provide volunteers room to socially distance. We had to buy new trucks. We actually lost a truck. We had the National Guard come in. We've had between 20 and 40 National Guards members help us out. I believe we've had 2,200 volunteers this year doing 21,000 hours of volunteer work. So between the logistics of obtaining the food and then having everyone distribute it safely, that's been a really big part of it. Especially that we had a lot of seniors that were volunteers who were retired and helping us out, and they had to sit this one out. So we started a program called Zoomers to Boomers, where we have young people delivering food to seniors. So we've gotten a lot more young, high school, college age kids that have been volunteering. We have a program called Backyard Bounty, where we have volunteers glean produce out of local gardens and neighborhood gardens. So yeah, we are looking forward at a long-term economic crisis and what that's going to look like, adapting our nutrition education programs. I think the most important thing is community building, despite the pandemic and people having to physically distance. So we're opening 10 new programs called Healthy Community Pantry. And those it's kind of set up like a health fair. So people pick up fresh food and fresh fruits and vegetables. There's recipe demos, there's CalFresh outreach, and there's booths from different organizations all throughout the county for health, legal services, things to kind of help people stay well and stay on their feet.
That's great. You know, volunteering is just so important, and whether you can do it in person or connecting with these nonprofits here today. I'm sure they have plenty of data projects as well. If you don't feel comfortable being in person, that they can get assistance with, or maybe virtual things like this as well. So volunteering is so important too. Thelma, do you have any kind of final thoughts on, you know, what your organization went through during this time and may still have to deal with for the future?
Yeah, it's been a challenging year. I mean, Habitat for Humanity, we're really well known for getting big groups of people together to go out, to volunteer, to physically build. So when this all first hit, it was all of us scrambling to try to figure out how we can still serve our families, build our homes, and keep our volunteers and donors engaged. So we didn't put our building on hold. We were able to continue building with a small team of dedicated staff, construction staff that are still on site building homes for our families, because our families need homes now more than ever. So we're still working hard on that. But I think the biggest way that we were able to adapt was we just realized early on in the pandemic that there were so many people that needed our help, you know, now more than ever, as we, you know, as we've all seen, and so many people who are struggling. So we developed a COVID-19 relief fund, which helped local families throughout the greater Los Angeles area who need assistance, whether it's financially to help pay mortgage, to help pay rent, to buy emergency food, essential items, PPE, and just being there as a resource to those families who are struggling right now, that have been affected, whether it's being quarantined, being sick, having family members who are sick that they have to care for, or losing their income. So we have a lot of work to do, a lot of work ahead of us.
Well, it sounds like each of you have really overcome a lot of the struggles of, you know, from COVID-19, and learned a lot of lessons that I'm sure each of you are going to be taking through the next years. With the time that we have, I'm going to change question 3 up a little bit, because we did have a good chat question. How do you all need, or what are all your needs that change during the holidays? And so kind of going along with question 3, because I'm going to start with Megan, is if there's one thing that the community, you know, needs to know about facing homelessness or food insecurity, what would that one thing be? And maybe tie that one thing, looking at time, with a need that you guys could get from, you know, the people on the call today, or what people need to know about your organization that they can help that one thing today.
Yeah, I think, you know, for our partners, a little tiny donation means so much. Like, even with the story that I shared about Rose and Mercy, after 1 month, the girls' lives were completely changed. They were running around and thriving. And so I think, you know, as we're focusing in on hunger and food shortages, but also just on like essential needs shortages, you know, soap, masks, like those things were not accessible to a lot of our partners. So we were really able to like increase that. And so going into the end of the year, we're really trying to find ways that we can get the supplies to the people that need it. And a little bit, if like a little tiny donation helps so much in doing that. And so that's what we're really focusing on in December.
Thank you. And James, how do you feel about that?
You know, holidays are a challenge for people who are low income, and they're trying to have a good holiday season, but yet, you know, they're food insecure and what have you. Instead of having 350,000 people that we're serving out, 600,000. So it's a lot of people who've never had hardship over the holidays are now going to be coming to the food bank and our partners to have food, to maybe have a turkey dinner or ham or what have you. So we know that the increase in need is going to be just like it always has been, but just basically doubled. So, you know, financial contributions, I hate to say it, still reign supreme, because, you know, as I mentioned, we take $1 and leverage that into 5 meals. And so it's just really about a community coming together to help us weather the storm.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, nonprofits, you guys definitely do know how to stretch a penny very, very well, just based on those large partnerships and networking abilities that you have. So I'm going to go to Lauren next on that. And what's that one thing for you guys?
Yeah, that is an important point to mention about the power of, for food banks in particular, donating, because we're a member of Feeding America. And we have access to relationships with food growers, food producers. We can stretch out that dollar. We spend 96% of all donations on direct operating costs, including buying food. The thing that I want everyone to take away from, especially in the holidays, is someone right now who's hungry. And I'm a grant writer. I don't get to see our clients in person very often, but I did run into a couple of them at the beach a couple months ago. And they started woohooing me. They were two college-age boys who were woohooing because I had a food bank tote bag. And they told me that they had used the food pantry at their college. And one was really sad because you could tell, because of COVID, financially, he wasn't going to be able to go back to school. And I think we have this idea of what hungry people are or what hungry people look like. And they are your grandmother or your waitress or, your son's friends. They are really mixed among us. And a lot of people are proud or embarrassed and they won't share that they're struggling. But they might go to a food bank and take the help when they can. So that's something to think about, especially as we go into the holidays. Right now, food banks are competing with grocery stores and everything because they're trying to bulk up for the holidays. And so food actually isn't as cheap for us right now. So the more you donate, the more that we can make sure every family has what they need.
Thank you, Lauren, for sharing that. Thelma, your thoughts on this one thing right now that you need and our community needs to know.
Sure. The one thing that I just want to make sure that everybody knows is that housing operates on a continuum. On one side, there's homeowners, and that's the side that we focus our work on. We offer that hand up to families and individuals who are unable to achieve homeownership due to their circumstances, so financial constraints, illness, etc. And on the other side of the continuum is homelessness. And changes to one side can have huge changes to the other. And part of preventing homelessness is to create more affordable housing opportunities. Habitat homes provide that opportunity and enhance the quality of life for those who are most vulnerable to being homeless in our communities. And what a better time to make an impact than during the holiday season. Every little bit helps, like Megan said. Any little thing that you can contribute will make an impact and change the lives of those in need. So help us bring families home for the holidays.
Thank you, Thelma. And Carlia, to wrap up this question.
All right. So I would say that the biggest thing that I would like to share is to break the stigma. A lot of our youth and their situations, a lot of individuals that I've encountered, their reaction is, oh, they're 18, they're adults, they're homeless because they want to be. That is such a horrible thing to think, because that is not the reality of their lives. They just haven't had the support system and the guidance and instruction to truly learn how to become, members of society. And so, everybody in this virtual space can truly make a difference in the lives of youth experiencing homelessness in our communities. Your support means that we can reach them in the streets, that we can, and not only give them hope one day or 1 month. This is for a lifetime. Once they learn the skill set that they need to be adults and learn how to get a job, how to maintain a job, how to budget their money, how to communicate with landlords, all that support to move them from surviving to thriving permanently. Now, regarding the holidays, so, talking about hunger, one of the things that we had to do was we developed the We Deliver program, and we actually every week are delivering groceries and meals and meats and produce. And so to us, it's just the support is going to just allow us to continue what we're doing, continue our work, and expand to other areas in our community to make sure that everybody's getting the necessary things that they need.
Thank you. Yeah, so as everybody on the line has heard, right, it's true, these connection and support that all these nonprofits are in need of. So thank you all for attending. I do want to say before anybody goes, if you have questions, you're welcome to stay in the chat. I'm sure some of our panelists will stay on to answer those. So if you have any questions for them specifically, feel free to use the chat. I will be staying on a little bit longer, but I don't want to take up too much everybody else's time. I know everybody's using their lunch hour for this. So I really do appreciate, having this deep conversation with each of our charities for housing and homelessness. I know my families have also been affected by that. So part of the reason why I wanted to listen to each of you and what's going on for moderating this. So for our next one, for everybody knows, for our Lunch and Learn series, it will be about veteran and military support. We have about more than 4.4 million heroes that have served our military since September 11th, 2001. The unwavering sacrifice made those that are called to our nation's defense can result in hardships for them and their families. So we're actually going to be talking to some nonprofits that directly help support these veterans and military support for their families as well. So again, thank you everybody for attending today's Lunch and Learn session. Thank you all to our panelists. Really, it meant a lot to me to see, going from our local areas all the way globally, the impact that each of you make. So as you're seeing, I'm sure yourselves, the people are really saying thank you so much. Again, if anybody has questions for the panelists, feel free to put them in the chat box. I'm sure a few of you will stay on the line, and I will as well if you need any contacts. So thank you again for joining in, and have a great day, everybody.
So we did have one question in the chat from earlier. They were just wondering how like the process for volunteering would go. So if anyone from the charities would like to answer that, it was just specifically like in a specific location if they want to volunteer in that area.
SanDiegoFoodBank.org. I
There
think
you go.
I would say that with Lauren would say that too. Just go to the website. I'm sure it's all right there.
If you go, in my case for Stand Up for Kids, if you go to the website that I just linked for Orange County specifically, you will be able to go ahead and there's a volunteer tab, and then you'll see all the needs that we have, and you'll be able to punch in and put your interest, and we'll contact you.
Perfect.
Same here. We have a hub called Volunteer Hub, and you can choose shifts. So some of them are ongoing, like teaching kids education through Zoom right now. But some of them are packing food or delivering meals and food to seniors. So you can choose shifts and not have to necessarily commit to a long period. There's kind of both options.
And Thelma?
Yeah, same here, habitatla.org to see all of our volunteer opportunities. We've got a few virtual ones available right now until we're able to open up those construction sites back so people can come out and build with us.
Wonderful. That's a great question. Thank you, Joe, for bringing that up. And yeah, make sure if you are volunteering, log those into the CFC so that way you and your agency can get credit for that. The impact here in California is really big for every hour you do save charities. So please consider to make sure that when you are volunteering, to make sure we get those hours logged into your donor profile. If there's any other questions, feel free again. I know everybody's kind of put their email or their web addresses in the chat box. Again, your names, thank you for everyone attending. Your names will be put in a hat for a $20 gift card. So again, thank you. This is wrapping up. So I'm going to end it. So thank you again, panelists. Really do appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to talk with each of you.
Yeah, thank you. Good to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you guys. Take
Have
care.
a good one.